So it's been 2 months since the last Satsanga, and what I want to do is actually go through some of the detail we did last time, because last time we talked about contentment and how that can be a double-edged sword. And if I'm speaking too fast for you, let me know. And then how to be aware and whilst continuing to exist in the physical, and then a bit more on oneness versus communication only dialogue, because that's a different thing in terms of being in total communion with the source or whatever, whilst also being in communication. And then 10 minutes questions and answers. And right at the very end of meditation, I want to do a mixture of the earth meditation, whilst also combining it with the oneness meditation. So we're all going to work together like we do normally, but doing the earth meditation. So we'll link up together first, as we have done in the past, and then we're going to do the earth meditation, so we can get the maximum amount of, shall I say, meta-concert ability. So is everybody? I'm getting a really good image now of Heath. Good. I'm getting a really good image of Joe. Really good image of Alan. This is better than Sunday, Alan. And I'm getting a good image of Manny. She's fantastic. Okay, so I'm going to move on to this contentment discussion, because last time we talked about it, it was a little bit hard for people to understand. Now, contentment is both good and bad spiritually, and it's something we need to consider when we're trying to progress ourselves in a spiritual manner. If we consider contentment from a physical perspective, and my mother was a fine example of somebody who was contented. She had a nice family, a mediocre sort of house that she was happy with, a husband she was happy with. She didn't need any money as such. She didn't need any belongings more than she got. She didn't desire anything of the material wealth that could have been there. She wasn't worried about what car Dad drove around in, although Dad had a nice car, still has got a nice car. She was really content in her lot. And that, from a physical perspective, that's outstanding, because it means that one is not materialistic. So, in essence, being non-materialistic and being content from the physical perspective go hand in hand. So when somebody is content, you can see they don't want for anything more in life. They don't need to have anything else. They don't need to have 2 of this or 3 of that, or they don't need to have, let's say, 3 or 4 nice suits, for instance, to go out in. They just have what they've got, and they're really happy with that. And that's an important place to be, really, because it means that one is satisfied with one's existence, and that which is providing for one's existence. And that means that type of individual can, provided they're of the right mindset, move into a more spiritual function without much concern of being attracted to the materialistic desires of living in the physical world. Because in essence, they will, if they're contenting where they are from a materialistic perspective, then they won't be, in general, attracted to any of the other sensory distractions that one might have whilst in the physical. So, being content as a human being is a very important place to be, because it means that we don't need to interact with the material world any more than we are doing to be where we are, which is very good. However, if we look at contentment from a spiritual perspective, in terms of our meditation practice and in terms of our progression spiritually, then if we are content with where we've got to, and I'll give some classic examples here. Some people are content to use Reiki, for instance. Some people are content to do a certain amount of meditation a day and achieve a certain result. Some people are content to do certain levels of channeling, for instance, or mediumship, or tarot card reading, or other forms of what I would classify as low-grade spiritualism that are the essential stepping stone that we need to have when we're moving onwards and upwards. But if we stay there, we don't allow ourselves to move upwards. We need to be, in essence, we need to be not content with our lot spiritually, and try to progress as far as we can do. And when we get to that place we want to get to, we need to say, okay, I've got there. We'll get competent at what we're doing. Then we'd say, okay, I'm good at this, or I'm achieving a certain level of response from doing this level of meditation or this level of spiritual practice. What is out there next? What's the next way forwards? And that's where, and Alan will smile at this, but that's where I'm going to quote Paramahansa Yogananda on this, because a young Roy Eugene Davis asked him whether many yogis got past a certain level of meditation where they were starting to get in contact with God. And he said, no, not many at all, because they got content with where they were, with what they were experiencing and what they were doing. And what Yogananda was alluring to there was being able to move beyond God, if you like, and move into that zone where there is more than God, and you start to work with the greater aspect of our source, and if you're capable, move beyond our source as well. So does that make sense to everybody? Yeah. You got anybody got any questions there? Because it's quite a profound statement, that is. Yeah, sure. I'll just put myself down there. Possibly, yeah. I think Alan wants to talk at the moment, yeah? Alan?
Were you talking to me? I'm sorry.
Yeah, Alan, I think you wanted to talk, Alan, didn't you?
Oh, Lucy's got a question.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I think it was answered already. If origin is all there is, how can there be something beyond the origin?
Well, I was talking about the source entity, really. Our God. Yeah, there is nothing else beyond the origin.
Okay.
Apart from more of the origin. And that's my level of understanding is that the current area of the origin self-awareness. I mean, we've gone beyond God, by the way, now for those of you who are listening on the side. When we go beyond our source entity, or that which we are working with our source entity, we start to work with the energies that are in between the structure of the multiverse and that part of the source entity which hasn't been used to construct the multiverse and ourselves. But when we go into, if we have the capability of moving beyond the source entity and start to commune with the origin, then we're only able to commune with a part of the origin that it is aware of itself, and that is its own area of self-awareness. But that area of self-awareness is only a microscopic part of its totality. It doesn't understand how big it is itself yet, but it recognises that it's got to be a minute percentage of 1% of its totality, as an example. I mean, that might be a gross overestimation. It might be much, 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 much bigger than that. And I'm sort of picking up as we're speaking now that I don't really understand the concept of how big the origin could possibly be, because that which you're quoting is, this is me, by the way, that is a figure that is only recognisable by mankind. The size of the origin is so infinitesimally large that even itself doesn't know how big it is. So that's huge from that perspective. But getting back to this contentment bit, if we are content with what we're doing, then we won't progress. We need to achieve, shall I say, at least competence, preferably mastery over that which we're achieving, and then we can move on to expand that level of achievement into going the next step out there and achieve and finding out what the next step is. I'll use an example of the first pioneers to land on American soil. They initially went across the short hop across the Atlantic, and then there was a large landmass which they called America, and they would have moved initially maybe I don't know, 100 miles, 200 miles, 300 miles inland. They wouldn't have. Let's get right in. They wouldn't have been able to. Oops, resume call. They wouldn't have been able to. They wouldn't have been able to understand how far they got to go to the other side to get there at all. And that's where we are right now. When they got happy with where they were and got competent in understanding the distance between where their homesteads were and the sea, then they realised that they understood that bit. They'd mapped it all out, so they were working in an area that they understood, and then they could move further out from there onwards. And that's basically the same thing in our spiritual advancement, because without recognising where we are, we can't actually say where we need to go to. So we need to get this level of competence first.
Guys, your voice is really breaking up a lot.
Is it?
I don't know if other kids are experiencing that also.
Okay. Shall I turn the video off then, so we can? I think we've done okay the video. Trying to get the. Okay. Okay. Let's turn the videos off then. Okay. Let's turn our videos off so we can get more sound. Okay. Right. So, does anybody have any questions on that concept? Because it's quite complicated. No. Okay. Right. Okay. In that case, I'll move on to the next subject, which is how to be aware and continue to exist in the physical. Okay. Now, in essence, if we are meditating and constantly working with ourselves, we can recognize that which is around us as being just a smaller part of a greater reality. Now, it's only really when we start to meditate and start to get access to higher information, initially slowly, and then by more and more work, we start to get information through channeling or automatic writing or just cosmic knowing, if you want to call it that. Then we start to understand more about what's out there. The more we trust it, the more information we get. The more information we get, the more we trust it. So, in that respect, we're starting to understand that there is much more out there than that which is in the physical environment right now. So, in terms of how to be aware and continue to exist in the physical, well, that's the difficult bit, because once we start to access everything that's out there, we start to realise that the existence in a physical vehicle and going to work every day and interfacing with friends and family and going to clubs we go to, physical pastimes, we start to realise that all of this is just a momentary exercise in experiencing something at a different frequency, a lower frequency. So based upon that, we need to be able to understand further what the role of ourselves is whilst in the physical. And then we can start to understand that everybody else around us is also doing the same thing. They're all starting to work with the physical to accelerate their own evolutionary content. So from that perspective, what we start to do is start to see the bigger picture. And those individuals who we previously distrusted or disliked or we thought were enemies, we start to recognise them as being part of the same picture that we're part of. They're all out there trying to experience, learn, evolve in their only way that they can do, which is to just do it, basically. And when we understand that, we then go even deeper and start to understand that actually, if they're doing that, and they were created by the source entity as well, or our God as well, then we start to recognize that they are also part of the source entity. And if they're part of the source entity, they're part of ourselves. And then we recognize that we can't possibly have any anger towards other people, to have any hate towards other people, to distrust other people, or not want to get associated with other people, because at the end of the day, they're all part of the greater reality. So when we start to recognize this and start to understand the greater reality and work with it, we start to realize that we need to work in the physical, be part of the physical, but not be consumed by the physical. So we need to understand what the demarcation lines are between the physical and the energetic stroke spiritual. So from that perspective, it's important to put a line in the ground and say, okay, I recognise that this is only a transient condition in my overall existence and my experience, but it's nevertheless important for me to continue to experience it and to finish it. But I can then do it in a level of understanding which allows me to see the bigger picture behind the way people behave and talk and respond. And when we are able to understand that as well, we know that every time that they do something that would normally be detrimental, or we start to push our buttons, for instance, we can then rise straight above that and not get pulled into the lower frequency aspect of responding in an angry or a negative way. So, and that's sort of, in essence, a long way of describing how we can be aware whilst continuing to work in the physical. We need to work in the physical in a state of knowingness of the bigger picture and lovingness of those who are also part of that bigger picture, knowing that they're doing things in a much less or zero state of visibility in terms of the bigger picture than we are. I mean, they will be, in some instances, in fact most instances, not anywhere near capable of understanding or logging into or recognizing that they are part of something bigger, and that this existence in the physical is just transient. So we have to recognize that they're doing it blindfolded, and with their hands over their ears and their fingers over their mouths. So from that perspective, we recognize they're doing it in a very, very hard way, whereas we are being blessed, if you want to call it that, by the fact that we are able to see beyond the curtain of the play that's on stage right now. Okay, does anybody have any questions on that? Because it's again, it's a long way of saying it, but I'd be interested to find out if anybody has any questions or any concerns about how we deal with being fully understanding, or as understanding as we can be, and still work effectively in the physical, because it is very difficult to do.
Guy, I do have a question. This is Alan.
Hi, Alan. Yeah.
You know, evolution of consciousness comes into play a great deal, and so does karma, on how much people can recognize what you have been talking about. You know, coming to an awareness of my place. I would think that many people don't even stop and think, what is my purpose here? They are so caught up in just...
Yeah, so you're back again now. That's okay. I'll need to...
Evolution plays a role, does it not? And also, and karma would play a role. In other words, to get the most out of this physical life, we almost have to come in with some satisfied with physical or see it as the only reality. Would you address that?
Yes, just one moment. I think Ryan's trying to get in. I'm just going to add him to the conference call if I can. Yes, I think I'm up to pull Ryan in now. There has, yes, I totally recognise what you're saying there, Alan. Just to reiterate what Alan's saying there. Alan's asking the question whether or not we need to have a certain evolutionary level or content and a certain plan in place that puts us in a position to become aware and awake whilst incarnate. Is that a good summary, Alan?
Yes, Guy, very good summary. Thank you.
Okay. And I'm going to ask the source entity on that. I do know, but I want to make sure whilst asking that question. Okay. There's two answers to that question. There's, in essence, a level of plan that one has when one comes in to, if you like, at certain points in their physical life, their incarnate life, they will become aware in a certain way or gain certain functionality in a certain way. Now that requires, in general, a level of evolutionary content, which means that individual must be able to see through or work through the low frequency aspects and therefore the inability to communicate with one's higher energetic self whilst one is still incarnate. So you've got to have the evolutionary content and the plan in place. On the other side, there is individuals who don't have a plan in place, who are not particularly concerned about trying to become aware and awake in a particular incarnation, shall we say, but their evolutionary content is such that if they become part of a triangulation effect, or they are caught up in part of the earth that is rising up to the frequencies, then they will naturally be able to access aspects of the, shall I say, the greater reality earlier than another person. I.e., they'll be able to access aspects of the greater reality at a lower frequency than they would normally need to because of their evolutionary content.
But that depends on triangulation.
That's one of the ways. Yes, there's two ways. If the Earth globally went up a frequency or two, for instance, and those individuals who, how can I explain it? If we consider people who are of a higher evolutionary content as being rocks on the seabed, and then the sea goes out, so the lowering of the lower frequencies goes, so the axis of higher frequencies, which is the sky, starts to come into play. Those higher rocks will start to poke through the surface of the sea before those other rocks that are lower rocks, as it were. And those higher rocks would be those individuals with a higher evolutionary content, whereas the lower rocks would be those with a lower evolutionary content. So as the lower frequencies start to disappear, in this instance the sea starts to drop, if for instance when the tide goes out, then those higher rocks, which represents this visualization of the individuals who are of a higher evolutionary content, would start to pop through the sea, the surface of the sea first, and therefore they are accessing a higher frequency earlier. Does that make sense at all, Ella?
Oh, it does.
Yeah.
And then would they naturally extend what they are getting from their experience now to enable those that are at a lower frequency to come up to that frequency or reach them in some way, like through triangulation, perhaps?
Yes. To a certain extent, yes. Now, in essence, what one can do is be affected by directional triangulation and by what I call inflational triangulation. I think Michael Eckhart's just dropped online now, so Michael can be part of this. But in essence, what you've got there is you've got two methods of triangulation that occur. There's the inflational triangulation, which would include the whole Earth going up through the frequencies. And from a localized perspective, if you have those rocks that are above the surface of the sea, if you use that visualization, may well be the outer edges of a rock pool that will start to drop out and become an isolated area of land as the sea drops lower. And that's another example of triangulation, where these rocks might have in between them higher areas of land rather than lower areas of land that are equal to the seabed, as it were. So inflational triangulation could include the whole Earth. In fact, it can include the whole universe. Whereas triangulation-based inflational triangulation can include areas in between hotspots of people who are of a high frequency. And then we've got people in between two hotspots, for instance, who are getting caught up in the energetic dialogue. There's an energy for this called free energy. It's an energy that is attracted to evolutionary opportunity or evolutionary content between groups of sentient beings. And it creates this link between those groups of sentient beings and allows them to work together and rise up together. But it also affects those individuals or that area that's in between them, either directionally, from A to B, or inflationary from A to B to C, back to A again. So that can also have an effect on it as well. Yes, it can, Alan.
Okay, thank you, Guy.
I wish I got a blackboard here to draw it out so I know about.
Well, was good.
Okay. Does anybody else have a question on that? Because it is quite a difficult concept to get one's head around. No. Okay. Fantastic. Right. Okay. So, where did we get to last time? More on oneness versus. Okay. The next subject was a bit more on oneness versus communication-only dialogue. When we're talking about being in communion with everything and everyone and our source entity. There are a number of different, shall I say, methodologies of being in communion with the source entity and with others who are associated with the source entity, or those maintenance entities, we sometimes call them angels, nature spirits, or in fact large groups of ourselves, or soul groups, or our guides and our helpers. And sometimes people say that they're in oneness with their God, or their source entity, or their soul group, because they communicate with them. Now, communication is merely is what it is. It's communication. It's setting up a method of creating a dialogue between oneself as an incarnate individual and one's creator or one's peers. And that dialogue can be either via the visual cortex, where we get information coming through the brain and therefore being overplayed on the physical vision, or it can be coming through the spiritual eye and therefore being played in the mind's eye, or it can be coming through the audible frequencies, so through the ears. So it could be clairaudient. So one's clear vision, one's clairaudience, those clairsentience, which is just clear knowing. The other one's psychometry, which is it's like almost clear tactile information, touching things and getting information from it. These are all specific methodologies of communication, dialogue. They're not actual oneness as such. Oneness is when one is meditating or using some other methodology to achieve a full and complete communicative condition with one's higher energetic self or one's creator. And that is a completely different feeling altogether. When one achieves the state of oneness with the creator, one is almost totally and utterly divorced from the physical. There is a level of communication which transcends the sight, the touch, the taste, the smell, and the hearing. It all goes well beyond that, and one feels like they're in total communion with the whole. I want to say cosmos, but the cosmos is too small. If that's a way of explaining it, everything is available. There is nothing that isn't available. Everything is understood. There's nothing that isn't understood. Everything is recognised that isn't recognised. Everything is conceivable, possible. There isn't anything that isn't conceivable or not possible. And that is, if you like it, that's the nirvana. That's the real sort of heaven state or bliss state that most people who meditate desire to get to when they meditate. Does that make sense in terms of the demarcation line between the two?
Oh, I got you.
Yeah, Manny, yes?
That makes perfect sense to me.
Yeah?
Yeah, I agree with that totally.
Because it's difficult, unless we've experienced it, it's difficult to understand it. It's almost like, it's like being told that if you push that button on the wall over there, for instance, whichever way that button on the wall is where you all are collectively, then the light will come on. Unless you experience it yourself, and better still, unless you go over there and push the button yourself and see the light go on, it's just somebody's words. Yeah?
Yeah, now what you explained about the connecting to God and going beyond the five senses makes perfect sense. Yeah. That's what I'm trying to achieve.
Okay. I think we're all trying to achieve that in a greater sense. we all have various different levels of achievement, I think is the right answer to that question. Does anybody else have any comments about that at all? Not from Chris or Joe or who? Yep. Yes, Chris.
You know, when you're meditating, does it matter? Is it the length of the meditation or the quality of the meditation that counts? Quality
every time.
Quality. Right.
However, I'll rephrase that. Without spending time meditating, you won't get the quality. It's a bit like practice makes perfect. Unless you've got the longevity, the experience, the being able to shut out the noise in the street outside your window, to be able to sit on a park bench or a busy street and still meditate in a totally and utterly removed way from that which is around you, you've not got there as such. And the only way to do it is to just practice. So initially, it's quantitative, but the quantitative leads to the qualitative. And at some point, when you've done enough quantitative practice, the qualitative will drop out instantaneously. So one would be able to drop into total communion at a moment's notice when one's practiced hard and long enough to be able to achieve that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fine, guys.
Yeah. Does anybody else have any comments on this? Because it's not easy, it's hard work. Right, okay. That's basically, that's the difference there, is that oneness with the Creator through meditative techniques, and you can call it transcendental meditation if you want to. I think it's well beyond that from my perspective, but it's even well beyond samadhi from the yogi's perspective. So it's almost getting to this state where you've departed the physical, but you actually haven't departed the physical, and you're therefore part of the oneness again. As against just listen to something in your inner ear talking to you, or your mind's ear talking to you, or your mind's eye giving you visions. It's much more than that. That's just one of the singular forms of dialogue that we use because we haven't got the bandwidth to be able to communicate on a higher basis. Okay. Well, if nobody's got any other questions on that, we've got a whole 5 or 10 minutes now specifically on questions and answers. Does anybody have any other questions and answers, or questions about answering while we're here right now?
No, about the bandwidth?
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. You've got to go for individual bandwidth to make a connection with the source entity. You just can't do it in one go. It's impossible.
Well, we have to. It's a bit like going from having your how shall I explain it? It's a bit like having your computer on a dial-up modem, as against having full broadband communication with so many 100 megabytes of information coming per second, as against 48 kilobytes. If I was to use that way, it's also, if I change it around, it's a bit like having water coming through a straw, as against coming through a 12-inch pipe, for example. That's the difference in terms of the bandwidth. The bigger the pipe, the more information you get through.
Oh yeah, makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay.
And what's more, the bigger the pipe, the more information you get through, the more clarity of the detail that you get, because the more information you get through, the more information you get, the more clear it becomes. So they go hand in hand in that respect, because the greater the bandwidth, the higher the frequencies you're dealing with, the more information comes through in the same time frame. So therefore you start to get more information in a much more clearer and robust sense. That means that when we talk about it between ourselves, we don't make mistakes based upon misunderstanding. And those misunderstandings are understandable misunderstandings, because when we do receive information, we're only receiving information based upon the bandwidth or the size of the water pipe that we're using. So we sometimes get a smell of that which we think is right, and it's actually not quite right, nowhere near right, because we've not waited long enough for the 2,000 gallons of water to come through to make it the right size of water to fill the bath, as it were.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. Anybody else have any other questions? Not specifically what we were just saying today, but anything else? No. Okay. Right. If there are not any more questions and answers, what I'd like to try to do today then is to really get everybody together in the oneness meditation we've done previously. It's been 2 months, but also when we're in this form of metta concert, as I call it, or I'll borrow that word from Julian May, because it's a fantastic description of what being in oneness is and working together in synergy is. We can then do this earth frequency raising meditation as well in a much more powerful way, because right now we've only done it in singularity. We've done it as a single meditation, and we've done for the earth frequency meditation. We've done it once, and then we've done the oneness meditation, the metta concert meditation in singularity. So we do them both together. It'll take about 15 minutes. Then we should be able to affect a greater level of healing, if you want to call it that, or increasing frequency on the earth, because there'll be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 of us all together. So that'll be 9 times 9 in terms of individuals that are there. Okay. So I'm just going to start this now. So I'm going to get the link up first. with all of you. So if you can all sit in a nice comfortable way, but not so comfortable you fall asleep, I'd be grateful. And I'm going to bring people into the room, a commonplace, as I see them going left to right across my screen. Okay. So I'm going to move myself into a white room, and there's 9 chairs in this white room. And I'm going to sit on a chair where I'm right now, and I'm going to ask Manny to come into the same room. Just imagine yourself walking into a white room, Manny, and sitting down to my left. So you're on my left. Okay. So Manny's just walked in through the door, and he's sitting down to my left. Okay. And the next person on my screen is Chris Woods. So Chris, if you can imagine walking into a white room, Chris, and seeing 9 chairs there, and you'll see me sitting there with Manny, and I want you to sit to Manny's left. So he's on your right. Okay, so Chris has literally just materialised into the room, and he's going to sit there. He's got a great big smile on his face, and sit there to Manny's left. So Manny is on Chris's right, and I'm on Manny's right. And now I want Alan to come into the room. Okay. Alan's just appeared to walk through the wall. She's fantastic. And Alan, if you can sit down with Chris on your right. Okay, so Chris, you've now got Alan on your left. Just sit down together and just maintain this vision of being in this room together with myself, Manny and Chris, and Alan all together. And now I want Meryl to come in the room as well. Just again, imagine yourself walking through the door, open the door, into a white room, white painted walls, white floor, and there's 9 chairs, all in a circle, and on one of the chairs is Alan, and you find that chair that's next to him, he'll be on your right. So Alan will find you on his left. Okay. Good. So Meryl's looking pleased with herself, that's good. You got there quite nicely. Now move on to Lucy. Lucy can walk through the door as well. Imagine you've been waiting outside in the hallway of the house, and the door in front of you, a white door. And just open the white door and move into this room, this white room, which has got white floor, white walls, and a white ceiling, and a white light. And there's these chairs in there, and you see myself and Manny and Chris and Alan and Meryl. And if you sit down in the chair next to Meryl, so you're on Meryl's left, and Meryl looks across, turns to her left and sees Lucy there. So from Lucy's perspective, Meryl's on her right. Okay. Now we'll bring Joe in. Joe can come through the door, move into the room. Okay. And sit on the chair that you see where Lucy is on your right. So if Lucy turns to her left, you'd see Joe there. Okay. Joe's just sat down. Very deliberate entry into the room. Good. Okay. So now we'll bring Heath in. So if Heath comes into the room now. Okay. So let's move into the room and just again move into the room and imagine that Joe is on your right. There's a chair to Joe's left, and you can sit on that chair, which places Joe on your right. So he's just suddenly appeared in the room and sat down right next door to Joe. Quite cleanly and quickly. Okay. Well, I'm not sure if Ryan's on from this thing that's here, but we'll leave Ryan. We'll say Ryan's in here. So if Ryan's on the line, we'll say that Ryan should come into the room as well. And just walk through the door, and sit down on the chair, big circle of chairs, with Heath would be on your right hand side if you sat down. And all these chairs are pointing in towards the centre point. There's nobody in the centre, but it's all there. Okay, so just sit down there. The last one to come in, because Anne closes the circle for us, is Anne. And ask Anne to come into the room, the white room. Walking through the door, or flying through the door, or suddenly appear or materialise. Float in. Again, sit down on the spare chair that's there, that's got myself to your left, Anne, and Ryan to your right. Okay, so I'm going to reach out with my right hand. My right hand will take Anne's left hand. Anne's right hand will take Ryan's left hand. Ryan's right hand will take Heath's left hand. Heath's right hand will take Joe's left hand. Joe's right hand will take Lucy's left hand. Lucy's right hand will take Meryl's left hand. Meryl's right hand will take Alan's left hand. Alan's right hand will take Chrissy's left hand. Chrissy's right hand will take Manny's left hand, and Manny's left hand will take my left hand. And we're all going to be linked up energetically in this room together. Now, while we're in this state, I want you to imagine that in the middle of this room now, we're going to change the rules of this next part of meditation slightly. I want you to imagine there's a hologram in the middle of the space where all the chairs are pointing into. And on this hologram, there's an image of the Earth as if we're all looking at it from orbit. So we're all looking at this image of the Earth as if it's in orbit. And it's a blue planet, as we know, with the sky, different weather systems, the poles being at the top and the bottom, North Pole at the top, South Pole at the bottom, and all the land masses there, the Americas, the Oceanias, the Europeans, Balkan states, Russian federations, Chinese areas, everything is there. But right now the Earth is very low frequency. So what we're going to do is we're going to bring it up the frequencies by using the same technique that we've used in the workshops to raise our frequencies and traverse the frequencies. So in this instance we're going to extend and therefore open by extending and rotating 6 main chakras that are part of the Earth. Those at the North and South Pole, and then if we're looking down upon the North Pole, we'll have one at 12 o'clock, one at 3 o'clock, one at 6 o'clock, and one at 9 o'clock around the centre line of latitude. Okay, the equator, if you want to call it that, goes all the way around. So those four are around that centre point around the Earth, and then we've got north and south. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go to the North Pole. We'll zoom in to the North Pole, and imagine there's a cone, like an ice cream cone, that's buried beneath the Earth. And we're going to ask this ice cream cone to come out, and it's going to be about a mile high, for instance. A big ice cream cone to come out, a mile high, and we're going to ask it to rotate clockwise, the same as we do with our human body's chakras. So as we see the North Pole, the chakra will appear to rotate anti-clockwise if we are looking down upon it. So it needs to rotate clockwise if we're lying on the ground looking up towards the sky. Let's extend that Earth chakra for a mile right up into the sky, and then rotate it clockwise. And that's the way we're going to visualize opening these chakras, all of the remaining 5 chakras. And as we do this and the chakra opens and rotates clockwise, we notice that the colour of the Earth changes, not away from being blue, but from being a very, very dark gold. So the Earth is starting to increase its frequency content as a result of having its chakra extended and rotated, allowing it to access those energies which it's used to using. So now we're going to get to the South Pole and do the same thing. We're going to get that cone, that ice cream cone shaped chakra, to extend itself out for 1 mile from the South Pole. And again, let's imagine that we're lying on the ground, looking up towards the sky from beyond the South Pole, and imagine that the chakra rotates clockwise. So it would appear to be going from left to right in an arc. And that will extend the chakra and make it, in essence, suck in the energies it's needed to suck in to make it work at a higher frequency. And in doing this, the Earth changes to a slightly brighter colour of gold. Moves away from that dark gold to a slightly brighter colour of gold. So the Earth frequencies are rising. So now let's go back up to the North Pole, look down upon the North Pole, and then move to that area that would be 12 o'clock. Give us the 12 o'clock position. We move to that point, and again we extend. Imagine we're extending that chakra, that cone, that ice cream cone-shaped chakra, out about a mile from the surface, where that 12 o'clock position would be along the equator line. That's line of longitude. That's latitude that goes around the centre of the Earth, around the equator. And again, rotated clockwise, as if we're lying on the ground looking at it towards space. So if we're looking from space down at the chakra, it would appear to be rotating anti-clockwise. Just asking it to go clockwise is enough, because that's our intention. And thought follows intention, action follows thought. So just as our intention is there, it will work for us. And again, as we do this, again the colour of the orange becomes more brighter. It's brighter than the second form. It's much brighter than the first form of orange, of goldness. And now I wanted to move to the 6 o'clock position to regain some balance. So move diametrically opposite to the 6 o'clock position on that equator line. Again, imagine there's this huge cone being extended out at 1 mile towards the sky, and that is rotating clockwise again, as if it was being seen from lying on the ground, looking up towards the sky, and therefore the arc of rotation is from left to right, giving it that clockwise rotation. And again, as we do this, and the Earth goes up the frequencies because it's accessing more frequencies, that colour of gold becomes more iridescent. working together on this, so things are happening quite quickly. Okay, we're all in concert together. We're all in collectivity together. We're all creating a synergetic value for that which we are doing. We are significantly greater than the sum of our component parts. So let's go to the one that will be at 3 o'clock now, if we're observing them from looking down towards the North Pole chakra. Let's go to 3 o'clock, and again, imagine that chakra is being extended out from the earth. A great big cone's being extended out from the earth for 1 mile, and again, we imagine it's rotating clockwise as if we're lying on the ground looking up towards the sky. And we're all working together, so it has no chance of being not invoked. The synergetic effect is making a massive difference, and again the earth rises up through the frequencies, and that colour gold becomes even more iridescent. Now we have 1 more to do. There are only 6, we've done 5. We've done the North and South Pole, we've done the 12 o'clock and the 6 o'clock and the 3 o'clock positions around the equator, and now we're going to move to the 9 o'clock one. So let's move to the 9 o'clock chakra, and again, imagine that great big cone which represents the energy centre for one of the chakras of the earth, extending out for 1 mile out towards the sky. And then we can imagine lying on the ground and asking it to rotate clockwise as if it's us looking at it. So we're looking at it from the sky. So if we were looking at it from the sky, looking down on the earth, it would appear to rotate anti-clockwise. So as we do this, the last chakra's in place, the energies are being sucked in from all 6 areas simultaneously. The earth starts to change dramatically. No longer does it go from a different colour gold to a different colour gold, it shifts into a bright iridescent gold and then becomes so bright it's hardly perceivable as gold. It's such a bright white gold that it becomes a bright white ball. All the ley lines are active now because they're all working together. All of the ley lines are working through those chakras, and they appear to be a bright gold network, like a Venus system all over the body of the earth. All the energy lines are working. Nothing is dysfunctional. The earth is a higher frequency and we're part of it. And we have created it through our meta-concert together and working together. So as we work together now, we can then stand back and go back into our places where we are, in our seats, and see this hologram. And we see this ball in front of us that's our planet Earth that was a blue ball with land masses and poles that are ice and water masses which are the oceans. No longer being oceans but being just energy. A great ball of iridescence, gold white energy. Everything on the earth is a higher frequency. We can feel the difference in the earth because it is of a higher frequency. Because the earth is a higher frequency, we are affecting ourselves and becoming a higher frequency with it. Our baseline frequency is lifted as a result of that work we've done. So not only are we helping the earth, we're helping ourselves, and we're helping every other incarnate entity that is currently on and around the earth as well. They are all experiencing and benefiting from that work which we have just done to increase the frequency of the earth by activating those 6 chakras, the North and the South Pole chakras, the 12 and the 6 o'clock chakras, the 3 and the 9 o'clock chakras. They are all almost invisible now because that high frequency earth is glowing so bright goldy white that it just makes them difficult to see. So we'll leave that now and start to come back into our earthly environment. So I will let go of my right hand contact with Anne's left hand contact, and Anne will let go with her right hand contact with Ryan's left hand contact, and Ryan will let go with his right hand contact with Heath's left hand contact, and Heath will let go with his right hand contact of Joe's left hand contact, and Joe will let go with his right hand contact of Lucy's left hand contact, and Lucy will let go with her right hand contact of Meryl's left hand contact, and Meryl will let go with her right hand contact with Alan's left hand contact, and Alan will let go with his right hand contact to Chris's left hand contact, and Chris will let go with his right hand contact to Manny's left hand contact. Manny will let go with his right hand contact with my left hand contact. And now we're all separate but together in the room. We've broken the meta-concert link, and now we can start to remove ourselves from the room whichever way we want to. We can walk out of the room, we can float out of the room, we can dematerialise ourselves out of the room, we can fly out of the room, and we go back into our physical locations around the world and become that which we are. And very well done to you all. Did you feel the difference in the earth at all? Huh? You feel the difference in the earth? Not really? No? You didn't feel it?
Yeah, I felt it, Guy.
You felt it, Chris? Yes?
I felt it, yeah.
Okay.
Alright.
Hi, Melanie.
Yeah. I can't remember the video on my way from you, but you could feel something quite different. I could feel.
Yeah,
Not a lot, but something. Yeah.
there was a difference, definitely. It was different to how you feel your own frequencies rise.
Yeah.
That's a definite. Okay. Do you feel anything, Joe?
Unmuting my microphone here.
Okay.
Not sure. I'll do a different kind of an earth meditation when I'm doing my light work.
Okay.
And I'm more tuned into that. So, possibly light as it first got lighter and lighter. Perhaps I do picture that.
Yeah. It's actually difficult to spot the difference between our cells moving at the frequencies and the earth moving at the frequencies. But it's a subtle difference. Because obviously we're moving up the frequencies with it. But it's recognising the base frequency change that's the difficult bit. So, it's probably the thing to do with all of us is to try to recognise what was different about how we felt about moving up the frequencies then. Okay. Heath, did you spot any difference?
Does that mean what you say, sorry?
Yeah. Yes, Heath, yeah.
It was a nice meditation. To be honest, I was just chilling out. I don't know.
That's acceptable. That's acceptable. That's it. Okay, thanks. Ryan, are you there? Did you feel any difference?
I feel a difference in myself, but I couldn't articulate about the earth.
Okay, fantastic. It's good. If you felt some difference in yourself, that's all. That's good as well. That's no problem. Okay, and let's go for Lucy. How did Lucy feel?
I felt shiny inside, and I felt the earth really appreciated what we were doing for her.
Good. Excellent. Thank you for that, Lucy. And Meryl?
I felt a great joy in knowing that we are helping Earth in her ascension at this time, as well as ourselves. Thank you.
Okay. And last but certainly not least, Alan.
I'm sorry about showing off walking through the wall. I also felt what Lucy felt, that everything was light and that there was a oneness and gratitude of being one. That the earth is as grateful as we are. That there's almost like no separation or no difference when we really get to the essence. of wanting to help and support one another.
Okay, brilliant. Now, interestingly enough, I've got the opening meditation on the Transformation Conference in London next Saturday, which is, I believe, I'm just going to look at the computer, and it's going to be, what time is it? My time. I don't know if it's possible for everybody to do it, but you can always log into the stream. There's a stream as well which you can go into. It's 9 o'clock UK to 9:15. That's in the morning. That would be 2 in the morning. That's probably very early for you. But I think in terms of the intention to be there, if we could all think about logging into that time zone, not specifically logging into it in terms of turning our computers on or whatever, but or actually being awake at 9 o'clock in the morning UK time, which is, what's that? It's 4 o'clock in the morning Eastern Standard. It's 6 Central. No, it's wrong around. It's 3 Central. It's 2 Mountain Time, and it's 1 Pacific Time. If we can just sometime on Saturday morning, if I say at 9 o'clock Saturday morning in your own time zones, you went through this earth meditation, this earth healing meditation, and just spent 10 minutes doing it, but making your intention be that it's the same event space as it's happening in the Transformation Conference in the UK. So it doesn't matter what time zone you're in. You're logging into that event space using the anchor point of 9 in the morning in whichever time zone you're in. I think that we can get a massive change there, because I'm going to make a point of saying to people while we're on the meditation that we've got people who are part of this Satsanga who are going to log in to the event space, not specifically at the time, but the event space. And also I'm going to ask people who are listening to the streaming to also imagine that they're part of the correct event space as well. So we can therefore get this synergetic effect, not only through the 9 or 10 people who are on the line right now, but all the other people who are listening into the streaming of the Transformation Conference added into it as well. So I think we can make a massive difference, actually, if we think about that. Now I'm going to send an email out and put it onto the Facebook page to remind people. I'll do it over the next day or two to remind people.
Just as a point of reference, what time is it there now? 5 and 4?
It's 25 past 10 my time in the evening. So it's 22:24 in 24-hour clock.
And it's 11:25 here. Okay.
Okay. Yes. So you're 11 hours behind, aren't you? Okay. All right. So yeah. So this would be 9 in the morning. So you'd be 8 in the evening, wouldn't you, Joe? That's specific.
I'll be awake then.
You'll be awake, yes.
It'll be the day before, of course.
8 in the evening, yes, of course, yes. So we can all do it. Okay, well we've done an hour and a half actually by the time we got the technology working. In fact, I've learned a few things actually about pulling people in, because previously when people dialed in late, I couldn't pull them in without putting everybody else on hold. But I've just found out that I can, in fact, pull somebody in because there's a new menu structure suddenly appeared that I've recognised now. So if people do dial in late, I can now pull them in as part of the conference if they're part of the overall conference members. So that doesn't mean we should all dial in late, by the way. It means I can pull you in now because I now recognise how to do it. Because obviously the Skype software gets updated and improved on a regular basis. I've now spotted that I can pull people in who are late dialing in. So that's a good piece of information and a good piece of learning I've had myself there. Okay. So we're going to have the next meeting in exactly 4 weeks' time, aren't we? I think we can do it 4 weeks' time. Yep. I'll send a reminder out. I would guess it's going to be probably a 23rd, 24th or 25th September. Got a diary there, dictionary. And getting the calendar there. So we're the 25th, yeah. So 3. So the 22nd is the first. It's actually the 4th. Now I have to go 1, 2, 3. Yeah, the 22nd is the 4th Saturday in September. Okay. So I'll have to. So now that Alan has problems with the 4th, would that be okay with you, Alan? The 22nd of September?
Yes, Guy. That's perfect.
That's
22nd is great.
Okay. So we'll book it then for the 22nd of September then, and I'll send an email out for everybody to be in contact. Any final questions before we dial off?
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Thank you. Guy, thank you so much.
Thank you. No problem at all. Fantastic.
Yeah, thanks for that, Guy.
No problem. Okay then. So we'll dial off now, and just before we go, Heath, I wanted to speak to you about Taoism, because there's a gentleman in Macau who has asked a question. I need to speak to you about that. I'll try and catch up with you tomorrow, Heath.
Sorry, you're going to contact me tomorrow about a question?
Yeah, about a question about Taoism and the cosmic knowledge associated with it. Okay.
Right, I'll see if I can help.
Okay.
Speak to you tomorrow.
Okay. I'll catch up with you tomorrow.
Thanks, Guy.
Okay, everybody. So I'll speak to you later, and thank you very much for dialing in and being part of it. And I do feel there's a change in the Earth's frequency just from the work we've done, which is fantastic. And thank you very much. And I'll put the word out to those of us to know that they can get in contact with the event space and help out as part of the Transformation Conference meditation on the 1st of September at 9 o'clock in the morning. Okay, well, thank you, everybody. It's been, again, a pleasure to work with you all. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
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 Take care now.
Did you see the aliens in Crete?